Welcome to the Jerry Graves channel. This is a channel that tells you how to master your flow, how to deal with narcissists and with psychopaths and everybody in between. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the topic. This topic is about having a narcissistic parent or just anybody in your life that's really narcissistic and they try to make you like them, and why you shouldn't do that. Obviously, you shouldn't do that. But like if you're a kid growing up, you don't really have a choice. But basically, you can't win at anything. You can't master anything. You're never going to actually be completely successful at life unless you actually figure out how to do that your own way. You're not anybody else, so you can't master life. You can't get everybody. People just aren't going to react to you the same way they react to other people, even if you do the same exact thing. Like things just don't work for you because unless you are that person, you can't follow their blueprint to the fullest extent and expect it to work for you. You can kind of take from other people. You can learn things from other people, but you have to master it and have it specifically tailored to you. But your narcissistic parent isn't going to allow you to do that. They're going to make it where you have to be like them or you're the black sheep. Even if stuff that you're doing is working for you, it's like they kind of like, yeah, that's cool and all, but it's not good enough. Like you gotta win the way that they want you to win. Now here's an example. When I was younger, I used to wrestle. But I didn't really want to wrestle. That wasn't my thing, But I ended up on the wrestling team because I come from like a wrestling family. All my cousins and uncles wrestled on my dad's side. So he wanted me to like get in the wrestling, and that's what was expected of me. So I did it. I did it for 1 year, right? And what I noticed is like I couldn't figure out how to do things myself because he wanted me to be exactly like him, like a cookie cutter, like you know what I mean, like an exact representation of how he used to wrestle. So he was teaching me how to do it his way, and anything I did, it was like let's denounce that. If I did something my own way, let's ridicule that, even if it's not wrong, even if it's working, So it got so bad, like when I was growing up, I had to have the same haircut. We had the same haircut. He wanted me to have his name, but my mom kind of didn't allow that. But same everything. And other people in my family noticed that, but I didn't notice it as much until I got older. I kind of knew it. I was happy. You know how it is when you're a boy, like you want to be like your dad. But I didn't understand that it was venturing into something, that's unhealthy and toxic. But so it was. So even while I was wrestling, he didn't give me my own wrestling shoes. Like he let me, I pretty much had to use his wrestling shoes, his old ones from high school. Like at first I was confused. That was kind of my idea because my mom didn't buy me any shoes, and she was kind of like out of the picture. And then he had his old shoes there, so I just grabbed them and started wearing them. But like at the end of the day, once I started wrestling, I would think that he would just buy me some new shoes, But it was just like I'm wrestling in his shoes. I'm trying to live, and the stuff that I was doing worked for him, but it didn't work for me. How I was wrestling, the style, the way I was doing it, it just didn't work, and I kept trying to do it. And his advice was to basically the same advice, like to keep trying to do it the way he wanted me to do it. And he would make fun of the stuff that if I was trying to do stuff that was different, he would kind of ridicule that and be like, basically make it seem like it's less of a way of doing it, even if it worked for me, So the whole point is that I never really succeeded as a wrestler, and I felt like it's because I was trying to be like him rather than just stepping in there, wrestling, and just learning as I go. That's how you're supposed to do things. It's not you trying to be like somebody else. You just learn it as you go. Learn what works for you, you know? And that's like a metaphor for life, though. It's not just, okay, wrestling, it's everything that you do. And I like, even when I was more into like reading and science and things like that when I was younger. And I remember I would check out all these books, I'd be reading them, and like he'd be like, yeah, that's good, but eventually I started being made fun of and told to, play sports and things like that, which is cool. Yeah, I wanted to be a sports guy, but at the end of the day, there was nothing wrong with me, getting into what I was naturally interested in, and so eventually, like, as you get older, it's like you don't really know what are your natural interests, like what are you inclined towards without somebody trying to steer you, and it doesn't mean that you automatically rebel against anything that your parents already gave you. If you got talent at something, then that's one thing, but um they shouldn't be trying to like mold you into basically a carbon copy of themselves, you know and you're gonna fail doing that. And there's just a lot of failure that's like you'll end up just not succeeding, at a lot of things if you don't get that through your head to be like, okay. And it doesn't have to just do with your parents. It could be just American culture. Like, there's ideas out there about what's normal and how people are supposed to interact, or how people are supposed to treat each other. That's completely American culture. It's the values that they have within the culture, but it might not work for you. Like an example, like everybody has to be a tough guy here. That might not work for you, you know, and it's okay if it doesn't. But it's not limited to just that. Like, there's a bunch of different things in our culture that might not be suited well for you. Now, obviously, there's good values like treating people well. There's that are supposed to be there, where you treat people the way you want to be treated and things like that. But there's a lot of stuff that's just American culture, and that you shouldn't just subscribe to unless that's actually something that's going to get you where you want to go. And in a narcissistic family, they have a bunch of values that are just like that, like, oh, nobody gets over on you. You got to be a tough guy. You got to, if somebody steps on your shoe, you got to knock them out. Like, what are they doing still standing? Because that's how I would have handled it as, the big bad narcissist. That's how I would have handled it. So then now you're going through life thinking that you have to handle the problems the same way, and then that might not work for you. And it's the same thing with anything, any values that they have. Everything needs to be evaluated as you're trying to heal, um, and just start. That's how you start to learn who you are, and it's hard to let these values go. But once you start to just focus on what works for you, just start there. What works for me, not what things should be, what should work for me, what my life expectation is, what looks normal to as an American, like where I'm supposed to be right now. It's like, no, it's all about having your goals, your values suited towards your success, and as long as you're not harming anybody else. And that's all I got right now. But also, I want you to buy my book. I have it in the description. You just send me, your money through PayPal, and then I send you an email, and then we're both happy. It's the Flow Within. It has everything. It has all the answers. It's like really dope. I put a lot of time into it. I talk about things that you're not going to hear most people talk about online, so it's just like, it is what it is. It's really deep. It goes really deep into the hypnosis that narcissists put on you. a lot of it just goes really deep, deeper than where I go in most of the videos. So yeah, just check it out. Buy it and tell me what you think.